Hey, yo, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are diving into something, well, pretty huge if you ask me. It's all about how to just crush it, not just on the course, but really in any part of your life. We've got some seriously fascinating material here, all about how if you can master your mind, how you manage those thoughts and emotions, that's the real key to taking your game in every sense to a whole other level.
Yeah, you're so right. The stuff you sent me, it's really insightful. I mean, it digs deep into all those mental hangups, the ones that really throw us off our game, whether it's right before a big presentation or lining up a crucial putt or just trying to get through a tough day. It's all about understanding how the things going on inside our heads impact our actual results.
I'm with you there. And what really jumped out at me was just how many of those mental obstacles there are, right? It's that quick temper that can flare up, the need to impress everyone, that feeling of wanting to give up after a rough start, or always comparing ourselves to others, not to mention those anxieties that are so specific to golf, like stressing about making the cut, or even believing that if you're playing well, something's got to go wrong.
That's where the real value of this material comes in. It doesn't just tell you what these challenges are, but it lays out some real concrete step-by-step strategies to actually overcome them, like having your own personal mental game plan.
Totally. And it's not just about golf. We're going to see how these techniques can really help with anything from dealing with impatience in everyday life to those pesky negative thoughts that just pop up out of nowhere when you're off the course, and even those nights when you just can't seem to get a good night's sleep. What we're trying to do today is break these strategies down, make them simple so you can figure out which ones work best for you, and just start using them like right away without getting bogged down with all the technical terms.
Absolutely. So let's get started. One of the first things that the material tackles is something I think we've all experienced. That short fuse, that feeling of irritability. It talks about how this can come up in all kinds of situations.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it. Like when you're stuck in traffic and it feels like it's going to be forever, or when just nothing seems to be going your way. And of course, on the golf course, a bad lie or a tough break, man, those things can really get under your skin. What does the material suggest as some first steps to deal with that immediate irritation?
It introduces this idea of a 10-second rule for anger. So basically, you give yourself just a little bit of time to feel it, just a moment to acknowledge that you're angry. But then you got to consciously tell yourself, and I find this really helpful, okay, knock it off, just stop.
You know it's a way to interrupt that downward spiral of thoughts right away.
Kind of like hitting a reset button on those negative feelings. This reminds me of something Sam Snead said. He compared anger to driving in reverse gear, saying it just sucks away all the energy you need to actually hit those good shots.
That's a really good analogy. I mean, think about it. When you're angry, your body's pumping out all these stress hormones, your muscles tighten up. It's the exact opposite of what you need for that smooth swing and the relaxed focus that makes for a solid golf game. It's literally working against you physically. Now, the material does point out, and Snead actually cautions against this too, that you don't want to try to completely suppress your anger. That can also backfire. So it's not about pretending you don't have those feelings. It's about finding a way to deal with them in a healthy way, acknowledging them, letting them pass, and then just getting back to what you need to do. This idea of having a quick release valve for those feelings, getting that initial burst out without letting it take over, seems pretty crucial.
Yeah, for sure. And then the material offers a whole bunch of techniques to help you get back on track after that initial release. Things like what it calls mindful detached indifference, which means basically you're observing your thoughts and emotions without judging them or getting sucked into them, almost like watching those clouds drift by. Then there's the idea of consciously putting on a happy face, both an outward and an inward smile. Relaxed shoulders, relaxed hands. It also emphasizes deliberate relaxation.
It's true how much your physical state can influence your mental state, right? If you can consciously relax your body, it can definitely help to calm your mind down too. And of course, you got to have deep breathing in there. It's a classic for dealing with stress for a reason.
For sure. Along with what's called a mental tension scan, where you go through your body bit by bit and check for any areas of tightness and then just consciously let go of that tension. Even something like quiet movement can help, just to release some of that pent-up energy without actually making the anger worse.
And then there's the focus part. It's about shifting your attention from that big, overwhelming feeling of frustration to a specific point, like zeroing in on your next shot. It uses this great example of picking out a certain V shape in the branches of a tree. It's so vivid, it gives you something concrete to fix your mind on.
Exactly. Redirecting all that mental energy into something that actually moves you forward instead of letting it fester. The material even talks about self-reinforcement, giving yourself credit when you successfully use these techniques, like building a positive cycle that encourages you to keep using them.
Okay, let's move on to something else I think a lot of us struggle with, both on and off the course.
Mm.
That constant need for approval from others. It's like that little voice that wants to know if people noticed your good shot, or just that general desire to be liked and accepted.
You hit the nail on the head there, and the core principle here is huge. Your opinion of yourself, your own internal evaluation, that's what truly matters, more than what anyone else thinks. It's about shifting that sense of validation from outside sources to your own inner compass.
That sounds amazing, but in real life, it
Yeah.
can be tough to put that into practice, right? What kind of concrete steps does the material suggest?
Well, for one, it says just a simple thank you. When you get a compliment, no need to go on or fish for more praise. And this one is even more important. It encourages daily self-praise, like actively building up a positive inner voice, acknowledging your own hard work and
I
accomplishments.
like that, becoming your own cheerleader. But what about when that urge for external approval pops up in the moment? Like when you just hit a really good shot.
That's where that knock it off technique comes in handy again. It's about recognizing that desire for validation and consciously cutting it off, interrupting that thought pattern. You can combine this with relaxation techniques. A deep breath, consciously relaxing your shoulders and hands, anything to release that physical tension that often fuels this need for approval.
And again, we see that focus element, shifting back and forth between being aware of your surroundings and zeroing in on the task at hand. It's like training your attention to move away from what others might think and back to what you need to do.
You got it. The material emphasizes that if you start doing things mainly to get approval from other people, it creates a lot of inner tension and it ultimately hurts your performance. It's about acting in a way that's genuine to you, that aligns with your own goals. And sure, positive feedback from others can feel good, but it should be like a bonus, not the main reason you do anything.
Now, this next one is something I think so many golfers can relate to, that feeling of wanting to give up when you have a bad start to a round. Those first few holes can really make you feel like the whole day is ruined.
Oh, definitely. That thought of, here we go again, is so discouraging. But the material has some really good advice for dealing with that. It talks about how Jack Nicklaus understood that everyone, even the best golfers in the world, have ups and downs in their game. Some days things just click, and other days, well, they don't. And that's okay. It's part of the game.
It's a good reminder that even the pros aren't perfect, and they don't expect to be. Now, we hear from Sam Snead again. He had a pretty strong opinion about quitting, said it's a worse habit than drinking before breakfast.
Chuckles. Snead definitely knew how to make his point. But what he's saying is clear. Giving up just reinforces a negative pattern in your mind. The chapter then suggests adopting Nicholas's more flexible mindset. Basically, you adjust your game depending on how those first few holes go. If you're hitting the ball well, be more aggressive. If things are a bit shaky, play it safe, aim for the center of the greens.
So instead of throwing in the towel mentally, you adapt your approach and your expectations for the day. The material also talks about consciously adopting this as if posture, like you're already confident, even if you don't quite feel it yet. Shoulders back, head up, looking ahead, and moving with purpose.
That physical display of confidence can actually start to affect how you feel mentally. Your body language can influence your thoughts, along with those tried and true relaxation techniques. Deep breathing, doing a quick check of your body to release any tension you're holding.
It also highlights how important it is to really focus on your movement and be mindful throughout your entire pre-shot routine. Feeling connected to the ground, taking those deep breaths, moving deliberately and smoothly through your swing, keeping a steady tempo.
It's all about staying present, no matter what happened on those first few holes. And the material even recommends switching up how you judge your round. Instead of only looking at the score, focus on how well you're staying mentally focused on your targets and sticking to your routine. It's a real game changer when it comes to your perspective.
Okay, this next one can really mess with you, especially when you're playing competitively. Comparing yourself to the other golfers around you.
We all do it. It's just human nature to size ourselves up against others. But on the golf course or in any competitive setting, it can really backfire. This is where Ben Hogan comes in. The material talks about how he was laser focused on the course itself, not on what his competitors were doing.
I love that. Like, the course is the real opponent. The material even mentions how Hogan would use practice rounds to carefully analyze the course and figure out what score he thought he needed to shoot.
He was setting his own personal bar based on the challenge in front of him. The big takeaway here is that you're out there for you. to test yourself against the course. Getting caught up in how everyone else is playing, that just distracts you from your own game.
So it all comes back to staying focused on your own process, taking it one hole, one shot at a time. And when you catch yourself thinking about how the other players are doing, just gently bring your attention back to your own game.
Exactly. Stay in your lane, focus on your own strategy, trust your skills, and let the rest go.
Here's a big one, especially in those multi-day tournaments. That anxiety about making the cut.
Ah, yes, that looming cut line. It can creep into your thoughts and pull you out of the present moment, which is exactly where you need to be if you want to play well enough to make it through. The material recommends using thought stopping here again. That firm command to yourself, be quiet, knock this thinking off right now.
Because worrying about the putt, about something that might happen in the future, takes you away from focusing on what you need to do right now to actually play well.
And it creates a vicious cycle. What you really need to do is stay in the present, one shot at a time. Those thoughts about the cut, treat them like they don't matter, like they have no power over your focus.
I remember Gary Player said something about this. He said that he would sometimes play entire rounds without even knowing what his score was. That's like peak present moment focus.
It really is. And the material ties this back to actual course management. Like
Yeah.
when you're facing a shot with the ball above your feet, it emphasizes how important it is to be fully present in that moment. So you can assess the lie, pick the right target, choose the right club, and visualize a successful outcome based on similar shots you've hit before. It's all about being in the moment.
And that confident posture and moving with intention, that reinforces that feeling of being in control and staying the present.
It all works together, you know?
Yeah.
Your thoughts, your physical presence, and where you choose to focus your attention.
This next one is pretty interesting. It's about that tendency to expect things to go wrong, even when you're playing really well. Like you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop.
It's like a kind of self-sabotage, that negative voice in your head. And just like with the anxiety about making the cut, the first strategy here is thought stopping. That's strong, be quiet, knock this thinking off.
Because again, it pulls you out of that positive headspace and can really mess with your game. The advice is to stay focused on what you're doing right now and to treat those negative thoughts like they're nothing.
Yeah, don't give them any power. And Harvey Penick said it best. You reach your rewards stroke by stroke. Golf is played in the present.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
And Mark Weedy, he also noticed this about top performers. He said they have this ability to just clear their minds, to let those thoughts go.
Right, and the material reminds us to keep using that broad to narrow focus. Stay completely engaged with each shot. It even gives us another example from course management, like how to approach a shot with the ball below your feet and choose the right target, all to keep you grounded in the present.
Now here's a situation that can add a whole new layer of pressure, especially during a competition.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling the need to push harder when your opponents are on fire? That urge to try to outdo their amazing shots?
It's totally a natural competitive instinct, but it can really lead to those sloppy, forced shots that end up hurting you. For this one, the material suggests being even more forceful with your thought stopping and using more rational dialogue, like telling yourself, stop, be quiet, shut up, step back, and start your routine over.
Yeah.
It's about interrupting that knee-jerk reaction.
Wow, that's getting straight to the point. And it brings us back to Hogan's philosophy of seeing the course itself as the real opponent. It's about refocusing on your own game plan.
Right, and then it's about going back to those basics. Take a few deep breaths, do a quick scan of your body to let go of any tension, move deliberately through your routine, and be fully present in that moment. Even stepping completely away from the ball can give you a mental and physical reset.
It talks about becoming really aware of how you're holding the club, your connection to the ground, consciously letting go of any unnecessary tension. Those physical actions can really help with the mental reset. Then, it encourages you to picture the shot you want to hit, keep a balanced posture, focus clearly on your target, and even mentally describe how you want the ball to fly.
It's about replacing that reactive, pressured mindset with a more deliberate, focused approach. Staying aware of how your swing feels is key, and if you feel your concentration slipping, step back and start your routine over.
Okay, we got to talk about this one. It's something that frustrates golfers of all levels, that tendency to dwell on bad breaks and those unlucky bounces. Like the golf gods are against you.
The classic why me on the golf course. For this one, the material recommends a firm dose of thought-stopping and rational dialogue. Tell yourself, be quiet, knock it off. You do this all the time. It's not like you're the only one. You know, challenge that feeling that you're somehow especially unlucky.
It even calls it magical thinking, that belief that bad things will always happen to you. And here comes Sam Snead again with his wisdom. He reminds us that those lucky and unlucky breaks, they tend to even out over time. And he emphasized remembering the good shots you hit to build confidence instead of getting fixated on the bad ones.
It's all about where you choose to focus your energy. The material makes it clear it's a choice. Are you going to be the complainer, the one who's always whining about bad luck? Or are you going to choose a more optimistic, resilient mindset?
Okay, let's shift gears a little and talk about some of the social dynamics on the course. This next one can be a sign of some underlying insecurity, bragging to other players about how good you are, how well you're playing.
It all comes back to why you're playing in the first place. It's about playing for your own satisfaction, to improve your game, not to seek validation from others. The material points out that this kind of boasting often comes from a deeper need to be liked, to control how people see you.
It's interesting how those deeper needs and desires can show up even in a game like golf. And Greg Norman made a really good point about this. He said that it's so important to be able to praise yourself because you can't always rely on others to do it for you.
Right, especially in a sport like golf, where you're often playing alone. Cultivating that inner voice that appreciates your successes, acknowledging a well-executed shot to yourself, can be much more powerful and consistent than always needing that external validation.
Now, here's a kind of social anxiety that some people feel on the course, worrying too much about holding up better players in your group or feeling like you're in their way.
That kind of worry just adds unnecessary pressure and makes it hard to focus on your own game. The material suggests using this very direct and empowering self-talk. I'm here to play golf, not to get autographs. I have just as much right to be here as anyone else. It's about standing up for yourself, prioritizing your own enjoyment of the game.
And again, consciously adopting that as if posture, that relaxed, calm, confident demeanor. That, combined with shifting back and forth between a broad awareness of your surroundings and that laser focus on your own shot, can be really effective.
Absolutely. It's about putting your attention where it belongs, on your lie, the shot you need to hit, your club selection, the feel of your swing, instead of worrying about what other people might be thinking or whether they're getting impatient.
Okay, so now let's see how these mental strategies can help us in everyday life off the course. This first one is something a lot of people struggle with. Waking up with that feeling of dread, that negative anticipation for the day.
Yeah, feeling anxious before the day has even started. The material suggests starting your day with a body scan and some mindfulness exercises. So take a few deep breaths and focus on how your body feels. Try to relax each part of your body.
Sounds like a great way to start the day off on a calmer note. And remember that thought-stopping technique. Stop, relax, stop, and then that positive affirmation. I am responsible and competent.
It's about consciously breaking that cycle of negative thoughts and replacing them with something positive and empowering. If you're feeling overwhelmed by that negative anticipation, just try to take the day 1 minute at a time.
Breaking it down into smaller, more manageable chunks. And it highlights the importance of being mindful of what you're thinking and what you're sensing, becoming an observer of your own thoughts and feelings without immediately getting sucked into the negativity.
That's it. Continue doing those body scans and deliberately slow down your movements as you go about your morning routine. It's a way to bring in that feeling of calm and control. It's a choice to engage with your day in a more positive way.
But what happens when those negative thoughts inevitably try to creep back in, later in the morning or throughout the day?
The material emphasizes going back to those same techniques. Thought stopping to break the cycle, body scans to release tension, and consciously bringing your focus back to whatever you're doing at that moment. And remember that plan to take things one step at a time. It's all about consistency.
And what about practicing mindfulness throughout the day? Maybe using everyday things like walking through a door or hearing your phone ring as reminders to just be present.
That's a great idea. It's about making mindfulness a natural part of your routine so it becomes more automatic.
Okay, here's another common one. Getting impatient and irritable when you're stuck in line or stuck in traffic.
Yeah, that feeling that everything is moving way too slowly. For this, the material recommends going back to those relaxation basics. Take slow, deep breaths, consciously relax your shoulders and hands.
And it also talks about the importance of rational self-talk. Reminding yourself that a lot of the time you can't control the situation. The only thing you can control is how you react. So put away your watch, let go of that need to rush, and just try to be patient.
That as if posture, like you're already relaxed and calm, it can really shift how you feel on the inside. Combine this with deep belly breaths and move a little more deliberately. And as always, when those impatient thoughts pop up, Don't engage with them. Just gently bring your focus back to the present moment.
It's about finding those little moments of peace, even in frustrating situations.
Exactly. Use those everyday annoyances as little practice sessions for your mental game. The skills you learn there will carry over to other areas of your life, even on the golf course.
Here's one that a lot of people can relate to: constantly worrying about what other people think of you.
That can create so much anxiety and often leads to people acting in ways that aren't true to themselves. The material recommends using thought stopping again. Be quiet, knock it off, together with some relaxation techniques to counteract that anxious feeling.
And it stresses the importance of self-talk, reminding yourself to focus on your own actions and choices and to accept the fact that you can't please everyone, and that's okay. Being authentic is what really matters.
That as if posture of independence can help strengthen that sense of self-acceptance and reduce how much you need validation from others. The material makes a really important point here. Putting your own well-being first and doing what feels right for you, it just feels better and it gives you more control over your life.
What about when your mind seems constantly stuck on future events, even when you're just doing everyday things?
Yeah, when you're always thinking ahead, it can make you impatient and make it hard to enjoy the present moment. For this one, the material recommends thought stopping to interrupt that mental habit.
And consciously adopting that as if posture of relaxation again. Deep, slow breaths, quiet, deliberate movements. The self-talk here involves acknowledging that this future focus is making you anxious and making a conscious decision to shift your attention back to the here and now.
It even has a practical tip. Write down any tasks or reminders related to those future events so you can free up space in your mind to focus on what you're doing in the present moment. It's like offloading those future concerns so you can be more present now.
And what about when those thoughts about the future keep coming back?
The material suggests using thought stopping and then doing a little mental scheduling. Tell yourself, I'll make time to think about that tomorrow morning. You're basically postponing those concerns and choosing to have a more relaxed and enjoyable evening by staying present.
It's about setting boundaries for your thoughts so you don't let worries about the future take over your life right now.
Exactly. And reinforce that conscious choice with slow, deliberate movements and that gradual shift from being aware of your surroundings to focusing on whatever you're doing at that moment.
Here's another feeling that can really throw us off. That feeling of urgency, like
Yeah.
everything has to be done right now.
Yeah, when your thoughts and actions speed up, it can lower your tolerance for frustration and really stress you out. The material recommends a very specific way to use thought stopping here. Say to yourself, stop. Wait a minute, slow down your thoughts, slow down how you're moving.
Like you're deliberately slowing yourself down.
Right.
And then use those relaxation techniques and make your movements more intentional to calm your body down. It's all about concentrating on what you're doing in the present moment, how your body feels, those relaxed movements.
Treat those urgent thoughts like they don't matter. That's key to staying calm. It's like you're retraining your nervous system to respond in a more balanced, less reactive way.
Now we're back to that feeling of being short-tempered and irritable, but this time specifically off the course. It seems like this is something a lot of people struggle with in their daily lives.
It is, and the ways to deal with it are the same as before. Practice those relaxation techniques. Quiet your movements. Use rational self-talk to understand what's causing that agitated feeling. It often comes from a combination of a hyped-up nervous system and worrying about the future.
And really pay attention to what you're doing, even during those routine activities like brushing your teeth or getting dressed. That helps build up that present moment awareness. Keep breathing deeply and rhythmically, and move with intention.
It's about building those habits of staying present in less stressful situations so they're ready to go when you need them in more challenging situations.
Now let's talk about something that's super common and can really affect how you feel overall. Trouble falling asleep or staying asleep at night.
Oh, that tossing and turning, that constant checking of the clock. The material correctly says that those racing thoughts are the main culprit when it comes to sleeplessness. It recommends practicing those relaxation and mindfulness techniques once you're in bed. Focus on your breathing. Let your body sink into the mattress. Even count your breaths.
Shift your attention to those physical sensations instead of letting your mind get lost in worries and to-do lists. And those tools we've talked about, thought stopping and rational dialogue, those are key. when those worries about the future or thoughts about the past try to take over.
For sure. And here's a tip. Actually schedule a time during the day to think about those things that are keeping you up at night. It's like giving your brain permission to worry, but only at a certain time, not when you're trying to sleep.
And if you wake up in the middle of the night, the material suggests actually getting out of bed, turning your clock away so you're not tempted to calculate how much sleep you're losing, and then using those same techniques you would to fall asleep at the beginning of the night.
Yeah.
Don't get stuck in that cycle of anxiety about not sleeping.
It's so true that worrying about how much sleep you need can actually make it harder to sleep. Setting 2 alarms just in case and then turning all your clocks away before you get into bed, that can really help.
Okay, last one. Let's talk about the habit of setting your watch ahead, which can create this constant feeling of rushing and that worry about being late.
That habit often comes from underlying anxiety and always thinking about the future. The material recommends starting your day with some relaxation and making a list of everything you need to do. Prioritizing that list and actually scheduling specific times for those things that don't have to be done right away can really help to reduce that feeling of being constantly under pressure.
And incorporating those things we've talked about into your morning routine, focused concentration, deliberate movement, relaxation exercises, gentle stretching, all of that can help you start the day off in a calmer, more grounded way. Pay attention to how those everyday activities feel. Getting out of bed, your feet on the floor, the water in the shower, getting dressed.
And when that urge to rush hits you, consciously use rational self-talk and those relaxation techniques to counter it. Remind yourself that rushing often leads to mistakes and makes you feel more tense in the long run. And if you have any intrusive thoughts or worries, write them down and make a plan to deal with them later. That will help you stay present.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, explored a whole bunch of situations and those mental strategies that can help. How do we take all of this and create a plan we can actually use?
That's the next step, putting it all into practice. The material shares this great quote from David Faraday. He talks about how important your attitude is when you face challenges and setbacks. It's not just about what happens to you, it's about how you react to it.
That's a good reminder that how we act off the course affects how we act on the course and the other way around. So making these changes in our mental approach in everyday life is huge if we want to see real improvements in our performance, whether it's in golf or anything else.
For sure. And practicing these mental strategies both on and off the course helps us develop those skills so they're there when we need them. The material also recommends keeping a diary where you write down your goals and those times when you successfully use these techniques. It's a way to keep track of your progress and reinforce those positive changes.
It even suggests writing down a plan of action that outlines those specific situations that are challenging for you and the mental strategies you want to use to deal with them. Reviewing that plan every day, maybe even a few times a day, can help you stay on track.
And you can even record yourself reading your plan and listen to it regularly, especially during those times when you have a few minutes, like your commute. It's a way to constantly remind yourself of those positive behaviors you're trying to develop.
Because real change comes from repeating these things over and over, from what's called overlearning. You're practicing these techniques so much that they become your automatic response. It's about setting goals, making a plan, and then sticking to it every day for a few weeks to really make those new mental habits stick.
And it's important to remember that you might slip up, fall back into old patterns, especially after you've had some success. It's an ongoing process, not a one-time fix. If you catch yourself going back to old habits, just recognize it and get back on track with your plan.
It compares this process to climbing a ladder. You might reach a plateau or even slip down a rung or two, but if you keep going back to your goals and your plan, you'll eventually get to the top. And it emphasizes that the key to changing how your mind works, just like changing your golf swing, is consistent, deliberate practice.
It uses that analogy of soldiers training, practicing those actions over and over until they become automatic. It's about training your mind to respond in those positive, constructive ways without having to think about it so much.
And the big takeaway here is that self-improvement is a lifelong journey. It's about constantly setting goals and making plans to achieve them. This material isn't something you just listen to once and forget. It's meant to be a guide you can keep coming back to.
Exactly. It's about actively shaping your own mindset and building that resilience and focus you need to succeed in whatever you do.
So you, our listener, have just been on a deep dive into a whole world of powerful strategies, all built around the idea that taking control of your thoughts and emotions is absolutely essential to improving your performance and just feeling better overall. And these aren't just theories, they're practical tools taken from the material you shared with us. Tools you can start using right away, whether you're aiming for a lower score on the golf course or just trying to handle those everyday challenges with more calm and focus.
And what's really cool is that these techniques can be applied to so many different areas of life. We used a lot of examples from golf, but the ideas and strategies can help anyone who wants to better manage stress, improve their focus, and develop a more positive and resilient mindset.
So here's something to think about. Choose one specific situation in your life, maybe one we talked about today that really stood out to you, and try using one of these techniques in the next day or so. Just observe how even that small change in how you're thinking might affect your experience. We encourage you to experiment and see what happens. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.